Sophie, thank you for your presentation. As I understand it, you have assessed the financial situation in Zoetermeer as favourable on the basis of the budget sheet. I like how you have done some extra research and considered the context of the recession, which makes the achievement of a surplus despite projections all the more remarkable and strengthens your argument that the financial management situation is positive. There is some evidence that the municipality was being cautious in this context with costs in this situation. I would argue, however, that it doesn't necessarily mean that the municipality was more efficient, as the general revenue was actually higher than expected. I do agree with you that there are limitations with regard to the criteria for assessment due to a lack of other financial information, which demonstrates the benefits of those. Such as a balance sheet for each program area to provide a longer term and deeper understanding of liabilities and assets, as well as debts that may be owing. The details of these aspects are not overly clear in the broader budget that we have at hand. I agree that there is not significant discrepancy between projected and actual costs and revenues. According to the data, and it is clear that in most situations this difference was favourable in this regard, particularly with the revised budget. I agree that there needs to be more accurate assessment and planning around the infrastructure program, especially given the opportunity that they had for a revised budget, presumably partway through the year, which should have factored in some of these concerns. The idea of consolidating two program areas, welfare and care and social benefits, does have merit, with reducing perhaps the duplication of, say, human resource processes and ensuring more collaborative solutions to complex social problems, potentially improving on service quality and efficiency in that regard. However, one could argue that the areas are quite different depending on what activities actually fall under them, with social benefits being more administration of payments and welfare and care being delivery of services. Considering the demographic situation for Zoetermeer was a great idea with regards to considering forward planning and review of the use of services, which areas could increase their revenue as a result. I would argue that the area of waste management could be difficult to increase revenue from, however, being a largely non-exclusionary service from a public value perspective and from an efficiency perspective, being difficult to charge individuals for house rubbish collection. You have rightly identified that some areas could reduce their costs rather, but that these costs are associated with public goods and value and are not easily able to increase revenue, being non-exclusionary, with funds coming from a general revenue stream or non-exchange transactions. I would argue that education is actually exclusionary and could increase revenue by charging higher fees, although it would be potentially unpopular and it remains a merit good. I agree that politicians need to have a clear understanding of program outcomes to make any of these changes, as this is as important in the public sector as the financial costs and revenues, as the role of the public sector is not to create profit and products as it is in the private sector, but to protect the population, represent interests of those voters, and not misuse the funds that have been taken from individuals to provide such goods. Thanks again, Sophie.